Welcome to Value Vest Daily, where we analyze the best value and momentum investment opportunities. Today, we're going to unpack a really fascinating and honestly, a pretty counterintuitive idea that's gaining a lot of steam in the tech world. And that's the argument that Bitcoin, Bitcoin, might just be the single best way to invest in the AI revolution.
So let's just dive right in. This is a pretty provocative question, right? But believe it or not, it's being seriously talked about by some of the smartest tech futurists and big-time investors out there. They're looking way beyond the obvious plays, the chip makers, the software giants, and they're zoning in on something they see as way more fundamental.
Okay, to really wrap our heads around this whole argument, we first have to get a key term down: pure play. So what is it? Well, think of it as the cleanest, most direct bet you can possibly make on a specific trend. Like if you're convinced electric vehicles are the future, a pure play isn't a giant legacy automaker that also sells a ton of gas cars. Nope, it's the company that only makes EVs. That's the pure play.
And of course, before we get any deeper into this, I have to give you the quick but super important disclaimer. What we're doing here is breaking down a theory. We're trying to understand the logic. This is for informational and educational purposes only, and it is absolutely not financial advice.
All right, so let's get right to the heart of it. The surprising AI pure play. Why on earth would Bitcoin, a decentralized digital currency, be what some people are calling the purest bet on artificial intelligence? I mean, the connection is not obvious at all, but it all comes down to the idea that Bitcoin solves some of AI's biggest, and I mean biggest, future problems.
And just to be super clear here, the argument isn't that Bitcoin is going to start using AI in its code or something like that. Not at all. The idea is that Bitcoin provides the absolutely essential, foundational plumbing, the infrastructure that a future economy run by autonomous AIs will desperately need just to function.
Okay, let's get into the first big pillar of this whole argument. And look, I know this part is going to sound a little like science fiction, but stick with me, because when you break it down, it's actually based on some really simple practical logic. We're talking about a bank account for robots.
So here's the logic of machine money, step by step. First, you have to assume that at some point, AI agents are going to need to do their own economic tasks, right? Buy, sell, transact. Okay. Second, our traditional banking system, well, it's built for humans. It has all these human-centric rules like KYC or Know Your Customer that a piece of software just can't pass. And that leads to step 3. Bitcoin offers a totally permissionless digital alternative that an AI can actually tap into. I mean, just think about it for a second. An AI doesn't have a driver's license. It doesn't have a physical address. There's no way it can pass those Know Your Customer checks that every single bank requires. The entire legacy financial system is just structurally, fundamentally incompatible with a non-human entity. It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. It just doesn't work.
And this quote from Arthur Hayes, who's a co-founder of BitMEX, just illustrates the philosophical link perfectly. He says, AI is pure math and energy. Bitcoin is monetary energy. It's this idea that an intelligence made of math and energy needs a currency made of, well, math and energy. They're kind of speaking the same native language.
Okay, so now for the second major pillar of the argument. And here, we're shifting gears a bit. We're moving away from the more abstract idea of machine money and into the very real, very physical world, the hidden AI power grid.
This is where things get really tangible. Because look at this thirst for power. What does Bitcoin mining require? Massive amounts of electricity, sophisticated cooling systems, and secure rack space. And what does AI training require? You guessed it, massive amounts of electricity, sophisticated cooling, and secure rack space. It's the exact same stuff. You've got these two powerhouse industries basically competing for the very same, very scarce resources.
And when you look at the numbers, the scale of AI's energy demand is just staggering. I mean, Bitcoin mining uses a lot of power, no doubt about it. Around 175 terawatt hours. But look at the projections for AI data centers. We're talking 600 terawatt hours by 2025, and then jumping to nearly 950 by 2030. It's set to completely dwarf Bitcoin's consumption. Finding all that power is quickly becoming AI's single biggest physical bottleneck.
And this isn't just some abstract theory, you guys. The great pivot is already happening. Look at CoreWeave. They started as a crypto miner, and now they're a nearly $20 billion AI cloud provider. Or Iron and Hut 8 and Hive Digital. These are publicly traded Bitcoin miners that are now upgrading their facilities to host GPUs for AI companies. They spent years securing cheap power, and now they're pivoting to serve the even hungrier AI market. They basically pre-built AI's power grid by accident.
So, okay, we've got the money side covered and we've got the power grid. So now let's talk about the final pieces of this puzzle, money and truth for machines. How are these AI agents actually going to use this stuff? And maybe more importantly, how will they figure out what's real in a world flooded with AI fakes?
Okay, let's look at the cost of a transaction. An economy run by AIs could mean trillions of tiny automated payments. Imagine an AI paying another AI a fraction of a penny to summarize a news article. Well, our current systems like Visa or MasterCard just can't do that. The minimum transaction is around 50 cents, and the fees would be way more than the payment itself. But then you look at Bitcoin's Lightning Network. The minimum viable transaction is a fraction of a cent, and the fees are near zero. It's literally built for this kind of high-volume, microtransaction world.
But it's not just about payments. AI creates this other huge, enormous problem, not just for us, but for other AIs too. And that's the problem of truth. In a world of AI deepfakes and perfectly generated content, how do you prove what is real? When you can't trust your own eyes or ears, what do you trust?
Well, the blockchain itself actually offers a pretty elegant solution here. Bitcoin's blockchain acts as a global, immutable timestamp server. You can take any piece of data, a document, a photo, anything, and anchor it to the blockchain. This creates a permanent, publicly verifiable timestamp, basically giving you a proof of originality. It proves, without a doubt, that this specific piece of data existed at this specific point in time and hasn't been changed since. So, we've looked at the philosophy, the physical infrastructure, and the practical applications. Let's tie it all together and ask, is Bitcoin the ultimate AI enabler?
So, when you boil it all down, the entire theory rests on the idea that Bitcoin solves two of AI's biggest future bottlenecks. Number one, economic autonomy. It gives these autonomous agents a bank account they can actually own and control, no human permission required. And number two, energy access. The global Bitcoin mining network is essentially a pre-built fleet of power-hungry data centers just waiting to be repurposed for AI.
And this quote from Michael Saylor just perfectly captures the endgame of this thesis. He says, AI will 100x productivity, triggering an explosion in Bitcoin demand. AI is going to buy BTC. The core idea is that as AI unleashes this unbelievable wave of new wealth, it's going to need a place to store that value. And why wouldn't it choose to store it in a native digital asset that it can truly own and control itself? And that really leaves us with one last pretty provocative question to chew on. As AI starts to build out its own economy, is it going to try and shoehorn itself into our old, human-centric system, or is it going to choose to build on a system that seems almost tailor-made for it? Please subscribe, like, and share ValueVest Daily for daily learning opportunities before you put your money to work. And please, put in a comment if you want us to deep dive into any specific high-risk/reward opportunities.